Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Starcraft 2 replay cast. Today it's a 1 vs 1 on Ruins of Seras between our blue Protoss player PtitDrogo, and down on the bottom of the map we have our red Zerg player LiquidTLO, and it is Ruins of Seras, a 4-spawning map. However, this time it is a very close spawn right on top of each other, and we're going to speed this up to the 8x mark, to the 2-minute point of the game when everything starts to get good. And very similar to Warcraft 3, speed up the game to about the 2-minute of the game, and at the 2-minute point is when all of the heroes come out, and very similar with Starcraft 2, except without the heroes. Now that Overlord did fly over the Protoss base, so it pretty much gave away his position. Now he knows that the Zerg was all the way down here and went there first. Now doesn't have to really go around the map looking for him. The expansion up for the Zerg already here, and now the Protoss pumping out at depths and on rally point to go to his opponent's base right off the bat. And a Stargate is on the way as well in the middle of the base there, trying to hide that as best as he can. I suppose that's the best spot, but perhaps he's just not even bother trying to hide it. Screw it, right? And that Overlord over there can spot it, and he'll probably send that into the base sooner or later, usually after a couple minutes. You send it into the base of your opponent, and then you can spot everything going on. Nexus is going to be a little bit late due to that Stargate, so we'll see how that works out for him. And now going to transfer into the Zerg base, and going to go after the expansion, but nope, cancels that, decides against doing that. And an Overlord parked over the area here. Going to spot these adepts and what they're doing now. Some Zerglings on the way through the Protoss base. And again, the Nexus was a little bit late due to that Stargate, but the Oracle there, of course, is going to make up for that. The Overlord now flying over the Protoss base, going to spot that Oracle being created, or he knows that something is being created, and he will soon see the Oracle come out, and we'll be able to defend against that properly, perhaps creating an additional queen, or already has 3 queens, so he is fine in that regard. Mothership Core shoos away some of those Zerglings there, along with the Adept closing up that area. And here comes the Oracle now, and did bring a second queen up there preemptively. And this is the expansion here, so he went right past that area and got 5 kills on that Oracle there. So not too bad. 5 drones, more than likely. And Baneling Nest coming up for the Zerg players, so this is going to be interesting. Perhaps he's going to try and bust into the Protoss base. It's something you don't see that often, Banelings against Protoss. Usually that is sort of reserved for Zerg versus Zorg, or even Zerg versus Terran to some degree, but lately that hasn't really been the case. And now the hatchery coming up for the Zerg, a second expansion. And the music is just so intense this time around. Quite fitting. And 5 adepts in the front of the Protoss base. Now a second Oracle on the map here. So if they find themselves some drones, it will be a total massacre. A Spore Crawler coming up here, so they have their opportunity now. They're going to want to go after the Queen here. We'll eat that Queen up with 2 Oracles there. And Burrow being utilized by the Zerg to hide those drones. Very nice. Something you don't see all the time either. And I really think that's a very underutilized skill, Burrow. You rarely actually ever see people use that. And TLO just used that to a really great degree there. Although he only had a couple of drones, so it didn't help all that much. But he is hiding these 2, and they would be dead by now, but not because of the Burrow now. And here comes the Banelings going after those adepts, and a nice explosion, but damaged the majority of them, and we'll lose all of them. Except for maybe this one, he might be able to transfer out of there. He did, but with only 16 health, and these Zerglings here are going to catch up pretty quick. And that Oracle really does not have enough energy to help defend, and pylon being created over here. And is he going to overcharge some pylons down there? And where is that Mothership Core? It's on the way, but it's so slow, and the Zerglings finish off all those pylons there. And now trying to block in his expansion here, and the Stalker going to eat up all this damage. And now it's on to the Adept. and did get through there, and now into the expansion, and gonna eat up some of these probes. However, probes are dangerous, and they like to fight back. When you corner a squirrel, they will bite. They prefer to run, but sometimes they have to bite. There goes a burrow once again, but revealed by the Oracle there. So that was ended pretty quickly. And now a third Oracle is on the way. So very surprising how many Oracles are out and about. A few gateways here coming up. And I'll be able to help out a little bit there with the production. And that Nexus was delayed quite a bit by the Zerg, so it might have the economic advantage now. Only a second expansion for the Zerg, so just now expanding for a third time. The Zerglings on the way to the expansion and may have to cancel this Nexus once again. And now 2 overcharged pylons here. Going to be doing a lot of damage to those Zerglings, but did have to cancel that. I believe he canceled that. I actually didn't quite see, but either way, the Nexus was slowed down, delayed quite a bit regardless, and still a Zergling here just spotting everything going on, burrowed into the ground, and I don't see how nobody sees that Zergling is definitely not completely burrowed, but we'll just go with that. And third expansion rather, up for the Zerg player now, TLO. And I will soon start sending some of those drones on over, but really still hasn't completely saturated his second expansion just yet. And Photon Cannon now up and about for the Protoss. And the Photon is nearly completely surrounded by pylons. I think you might be able to get a Zergling there to hit it, but only one at a time, and that isn't really going to do the trick. It would take quite a bit of Zerglings to do that. And long-range mining for a moment there with some of those probes. Now a ton of Mutalisks out in the field, and we have a total of 8 Mutalisks. And doing a lot of damage here to these probes. Here's a Phoenix now to try and stop that, but just one Phoenix not going to do the trick. And losing quite a bit of probes here, and now making some Archons, and lost one of those Archons before it had its chance. And Stalker gets warped in, but instantly destroyed. And here comes some Stalkers to stop this. And now a total of 12 Mutalisks on the field. And now the Mutas forced out of the base, all of them a little bit too low for any additional combat. But here come 4 more to join the swarm. And that should be able to complete the firepower needed to take out these Stalkers and some additional probes. And we'll see if these Mutas can finish off these Stalkers. It does look like that is the case. And are more Phoenix being created? Indeed, they are. It's going to be a while before another Phoenix is out. Overcharged a pylon over there, but a little bit too late. And another pylon overcharged. And the Mothership Core are going to be lost. And still trying to make Stalkers here, but just doesn't really have too many Warpins allowed right now. Used them all up, just one Stalker at a time, basically. And here comes the Phoenix. And takes out one there. However, just one Phoenix against those Mutas there. Really got to micro that well. And the Archon was waiting there for that Phoenix to go back over to the left and go over that Archon. And now down to just 4 here for the Zerg. And now massing up some Roaches and some Zerglings. Only 11 Zerglings, though. And 5 Hydralisks. So just distracting his opponent at the moment right now with Mutalisks. Now Lurker out on the field as well. And the expansion still not really going just yet. TLO, like, very expanding very, very slowly over here. Somewhat unusual for Zerg, but he is doing quite well so far. Looks like the Protoss is sort of on the back end of the game right now. And units lost 7,500 for the Protoss and 4,800 for the Zerg, so definitely lost quite a bit more units overall in these engagements. And now the battle begins. The Zealots charge forward, and a couple of the Lurkers ripped out of the ground there. However, the Lurkers just too much damage for those Zealots. And some Zealots tried to charge forward there, but just still not enough. Those Lurkers, way too much damage. And now the Probe's in trouble here, and PtitDrogo has to GG out, and leaving TLO the winner. And I think those mutas were just a little bit too much harassment for him to handle. He'd lost way too many probes in those engagements, ended up losing way too many units, 12,000 to 8,000. When you lose more units than the Zerg, when you lose more resources than the Zerg did, then it's definitely not good. It should always be the other way around, as Zerg units typically should die more often than yours, but not the case this game. I hope you guys enjoyed the replay, and I'll see you guys next time.